Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Thursday, May 16th, and I'm bringing you another episode of Poetry Thursday. In honor of Horror Mayhem, I thought that I would devote today's episode to the poetry of H.P. Lovecraft. He is considered one of the greatest writers of horror fiction of the 20th century. Although most of his literary success came after his death at the young age of 46 in 1937. He's most well known for his horror fiction and for basically inventing a genre of cosmic horror. Interestingly, like Edgar Allan Poe, who was a major influence on his life and his writing, Lovecraft considered himself more of a poet than a fiction writer. He is, of course, most well known for his fiction, and his poetry is rarely, if ever, included in anthologies. However, there are several collections of his poetry available now, including the ancient tract, The Complete Poetical Works of H.P. Lovecraft, and this one, The Poetry of H.P. Lovecraft, including the essays The Allowable Rhyme and Metrical Regularity. Like his fiction, his poems are often filled with a horrific sense of dread and helplessness. He explores themes such as the insignificance of humanity in the overall cosmic scheme, the discovery of forbidden knowledge, and human madness. There are clear echoes of the poetry of Edgar Allan Poe and also of Lord Byron. His poetry is rich with imagery, and he was a master poetic craftsman of rhyme and meter. So here are a few representative samples of his poetry. I certainly hear echoes of Poe in the selections that I'm reading today. First, I would like to read a poem entitled Despair. Depicted here is a world absent of hope and joy. This is a world of corruption, decay, and existential dread. Despair. O'er the midnight moorlands crying, through the cypress forests sighing, in the night wind madly flying, hellish forms with streaming hair. In the barren branches creaking, by the stagnant swamp pools speaking, past the shore cliffs ever shrieking, damned demons of despair. Once I think I half remember, ere the gray skies of November quenched my youth's aspiring ember, lived there such a thing as bliss, skies that now are dark were beaming, bold and azure, splendid seeming, till I learned it all was dreaming, deadly drowsiness of dis. But the stream of time, swift flowing, brings the torment of half-knowing, dimly rushing, blindly going past the never-trodden lea, and the voyager, repining, sees the wicked death fires shining, hears the wicked petrels whining as he helpless drifts to sea. Evil wings in ether beating, vultures at the spirit eating, things unseen forever fleeting, black against the leering sky. Ghastly shades of bygone gladness, clawing fiends of future sadness, mingle in a cloud of madness, ever on the soul to lie. Thus the living, lone and sobbing, in the throes of anguish throbbing, with the loathsome furies robbing night and noon of peace and rest, but beyond the groans and grating of abhorrent life is waiting, sweet oblivion culminating all the years of fruitless quest. Next, I'm going to read his poem, Nemesis. This is a poem filled with a sense of cosmic dread. Rather than featuring supernatural creatures like some of Lovecraft's work, this poem depicts the psychological torment of the narrator, who has apparently witnessed more than his share of horror in his life, leaving him with a profound sense of alienation and despair. Nemesis. Through the ghoul-guarded gateways of slumber, past the wan-mooned abysses of night, I have lived o'er my lives without number. I have sounded all things with my sight, and I struggle and shriek ere the daybreak, being driven to madness with fright. I have whirled with the earth at the dawning, when the sky was a vaporous flame. I have seen the dark universe yawning, where the black planets roll without aim, where they roll in their horror unheeded, without knowledge or luster or name. I had drifted o'er seas without ending, under sinister gray-clouded skies, that the many-forked lightning is rending, that resound with hysterical cries, with the moans of invisible demons that out of the green waters rise. I have plunged like a deer through the arches of the hoary primordial grave, where the oaks feel the presence that marches and stalks on where no spirit dares rove, and I flee from a thing that surrounds me and leers through dead branches above. I have stumbled by cave-ridden mountains that rise barren and bleak from the plain. I have drunk of the fog-fetid fountains that ooze down to the marsh and the main. And in hot, cursed tarns I have seen things I care not to gaze on again. I have scanned the vast ivy-clad palace. I have trod its untenanted halls, where the moon, writhing up from the valleys, shows the tapestried things on the walls, strange figures discordantly woven, which I cannot endure to recall. I have peered from the casement in wonder at the moldering meadows around, at the many-roofed village laid under the curse of a grave-girdled ground, and from rows of white urn-carven marble I listen intently for sound. I have haunted the tombs of the ages. I have flown on the pinions of fear, where the smoke-belching Erebus rages, where the jackals loom snow-clad and drear, and in realms where the sun of the desert consumes what it never can cheer. I was old when the pharaohs first mounted the jewel-decked throne by the Nile. I was old in those epochs uncounted, when I, and I only, was vile, and man, yet untainted and happy, dwelt in bliss on the far Arctic isle. Oh, Great was the sin of my spirit, and great is the reach of its doom. Not the pity of heaven can cheer it, nor can respite be found in the tomb. Down the infinite eons come beating the wings of unmerciful gloom. Through the ghoul-guarded gateways of slumber, past the wan-mooned abysses of night, I have lived o'er my lives without number. I have sounded all things with my sight, and I struggle and shriek ere the daybreak, being driven to madness with fright. And finally, I'm going to read Halloween in a Suburb. This poem depicts a scene of the macabre as ghouls, harpies, and vampires roam the night. Lurking beneath the seemingly peaceful suburban setting are horrors and madness and despair. Halloween in a Suburb. The steeples are white in the wild moonlight, and the trees have a silver glare. Past the chimneys high, see the vampires fly, and the harpies of upper air that flutter and laugh and stare. For the village, dead to the moon outspread, never shone in the sunset's gleam, but grew out of the deep that the dead years keep, where the rivers of madness stream down the gulfs to a pit of dream. A chill wind weaves through the rows of sheaves in the meadows that shimmer pale, and comes to twine where the headstones shine, and the ghouls of the churchyard wail for harvests that fly and fail. Not a breath of the strange gray gods of change that tore from the past its own can quicken this hour when a spectral power spreads sleep o'er the cosmic throne and looses the vast unknown. So here again stretch the vale and plain that moons long forgotten saw, and the dead leap gay in the pallid ray, sprung out of the tomb's black maw to shake all the world with awe. And all that the moon shall greet forlorn, the ugliness and the pest of rose where thick rise the stones and brick, shall someday be with the rest, and brood with the shades unblessed. Then, wild in the dark, let the lemurs bark, and the leprous spires ascend, for new and old alike in the fold of horror and death are penned, for the hounds of time to rend. So that's a little bit of the poetry of H.P. Lovecraft, the creator of the cosmic genre, the cosmic horror genre, and one of the greatest creators of horror fiction of all time. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.